Welcome to Body Ecology Living. This is a show or a podcast where we talk about all things related to health, diet especially, but also the microbiome and all kinds of different infections. And most of all, we offer lots and lots of solutions. I'm committed to never doing a podcast where you don't walk away or turn it off or whatever without some great information that makes your life better. My guest today is Nadine Artemis. I met Nadine years ago, really, maybe more than 10 years ago, when Nadine and I were both speaking at a David Wolfe conference for women. And she was talking at that time about the vaginal microbiome, which I was pretty amazed that she'd done and knew so much about it because, I think everybody today knows that we have a microbiome in our gut. There is one in the vagina of women. We have a very huge microbiome all over our skin, our scalp, of course. For people that have dandruff, they have yeast, candida in their scalp. And then, of course, there's the nose and there is the mouth. And one of the microbiomes that people really don't know much about is the oral microbiome, the microbiome in the mouth. And Nadine is a specialist in this topic. So I was really thrilled when she said yes, she would be on our podcast. And I think you're going to love what we're going to talk about. So Nadine, thank you so much for coming today.
It's such a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
For all of you that would like to, if you're on your computer and you want to open up and take a look at Nadine's website, it's called Living Libations. Is it Living Libations still, or
libations?
Would you spell it
Libations? Kind of like vibrations. No yeah, no R. Libations. Okay. It's perfect. Like it means it's an outpouring of honor and love to it, like a deity. So which we think of like we're an outpouring of, like, the gifts are an outpouring of love from the planet, and we get to pour them on our body, and it's just like a whole beautiful reciprocal libation relation.
Well, which is very typical of something you would do. And also the website, you'll see Nadine has products, and they're unique products. They're amazing products. They're extremely high quality. So you may want to poke around and look at some of those while we're talking. But let's get started talking about this amazing topic, the oral microbiome. So, gosh, Nadine, it's such a huge topic. You wouldn't, people listening might think, well, what can you say except that there's a microbiome in the mouth? But there's a lot to say about it. And so, if you don't mind, I kind of started putting a list of questions together, and I wanted just to let people know that 80% of Americans have gum disease. They have plaque in their mouth, and they have pathogens in their mouth, and they don't realize what that's doing to the body. So if we could just start there and talk about how the mouth, or the oral cavity, is an extension of your digestive tract. And, the question is, do the microbes in the mouth have anything to do with the microbes in our gut?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And yes, they are inextricably bound. And before we go too deep into that, I just want to say, perhaps you did see me on the stage talking about the vaginal microbiome, but really I feel like my early microbiome knowledge came directly from you. And
from me?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Well, I was the first one to start talking about it. Nobody was interested in 30 years ago.
Oh, I was so interested in that. Yeah. And so eventually seeing, and then your books came out, and really to deal with the body ecology and candida and the guts and all of that. So it's very, very groundbreaking, your whole body of work. And so, yes, within that gut microbiome, it's very easy to know that the mouth microbiome is completely connected. And even though here we are in this time, and you can walk down those drugstore dental aisles, and never before has there been more periodontal promises and plaque removers and all kinds of products. And at the same time, never before have we had such a endemic of bleeding, receding gums, our plaque that travels into the brain and is now understood to be related to Alzheimer's. There is also never been more of a proliferation of cavities and root canals and receding gums and all of that. So even though it looks like we have all of these products, we don't really have a lot of solutions, as we can tell from the health of our mouths. And all of those products in the drugstore aisle, at the foundation of all of them, they all mess with the mouth's microbiome. So then here we are sort of in a vicious cycle, in a catch-22, maintaining our mouths with what we think we're doing the best. And we're literally like, impeding the vitality of our microbiome every day.
Well, most people today know that you're supposed to visit your dentist twice a year, get your teeth cleaned. They sadly, not just only do we have terrible products that are not paying, don't even recognize the fact that we have a microbiome in our mouth, but also dentists don't know, and they don't. I'm like 2 blocks away from a fantastic dental school in USC. It's a medical college of Medical University of South Carolina, but it's very, very good dental school. And nobody there ever discusses, and all those kids that graduate, they know nothing about the oral microbiome.
Yeah, and it's almost like we can't even understand the mouth if we don't know about the oral microbiome. And then the other thing, because I always like to go, okay, let's step back and let's see what is the way that the body's designed, and can we assist that? Because I feel like a lot of our modern stuff actually tries to override the design of the body. And so a really foundational thing to know about our mouth too is how cavities are caused. Because in the 40s, it was the ADA decided, it was sort of a debate at the time. They were trying to decide, is it systemic? Are our mouths systemically connected to the body? And I sing ding ding, that's the answer. But they chose the acidogenic theory route of decay. And that is just basically that acids and sugars on the teeth create decay, not sensing that the whole mouth is connected to the rest of the body. And so when I was diving into my research to understand, because I figure there's a natural system in the body to prevent cavities. So what is that? Because we weren't born with a toothbrush in our hand. We were born with a microbiome though. Mm-hmm. And so what I learned from because all my dental research is, of course, I'm just a human. I have teeth and I was really interested in keeping them. And so I looked to the dental experts and brought their information together. And so what we learned from Dr. Steinman and Dr. John Leonora, and they did thousands of studies, is that when we chew, the parotid glands activate, so the nutrients in the food, hopefully we've got nutrient-dense food, and that signals the hypothalamus, which I always feel like, of course, everything touches the hypothalamus at some point, and then that sends out the communications. So then the blood is drawing in the nutrients from the food, and then that travels up to the teeth where we have our roots. And each tooth is like a tree with roots. It's drawing up from sort of the soil of our body, it's drawing up the blood, all the nutrients into the pulp chamber. And here's the fascinating thing that they found is that there's a dentinal lymphatic system, and that blood goes up into the pulp chamber, and then through a lot of complicated, amazing biology, it gets fenestrated into a lymphatic fluid, and then the odontoblasts, which are like the pumps that help make bone density, they pump out this fluid onto the surface of the tooth, where it's like microscopic sweat that coalesces with the saliva to care for the teeth, to nourish areas that are under stress. And that is what I call the invisible toothbrush, because it prevents plaque formation, it prevents decay, and it brings nutrients to the tooth. When we are stressed, from stress comes from all realms, yeah, or pregnancy, or hormonal stress, or teen hormonal stress, or really poor diet, which is of course going to create stress in the body. When that happens, this beautiful lymphatic system, dentinal lymphatic system, stagnates. And so then we're kind of in a limbo. And if things get worse, then that system will reverse, and then our teeth become like straws, sucking in from the mouth the bacteria, virus, and fungi. And that is the genesis of how cavities are formed. And so we don't have that great balance in our oral microbiome that, it's all connected together. And so healthy mouth, healthy guts, healthy dentinal lymph fluid.
So that's really amazing. First of all, I know that the lymph system completely is all over the gut, area of the gut, just everywhere. Huge amount, massive amount of lymph all around that area. Actually, the whole area is called the gut-associated lymph system. So that's interesting what you just said about the lymph system, that what's happening down in that lymph system is actually going up and all the way into the tooth. And then no one has ever heard about teeth sweating. All right, so you're basic. I just want you to repeat this again, because it's like, whoa, I never heard that before, everyone's thinking. So the teeth are sweating out. What are they sweating out? I know obviously you don't see your teeth sweating, so it is invisible.
It's microscopic, and it's that dentinal lymphatic fluid that gets pushed out onto the surface of the teeth. Because of course, bones are a two-way street, right? And really on one level of biology, like everything has a sort of a breathing cycle, like our skin breathes, besides us breathing. And so that it is believed by dentists that there is a respiration, in a sense, to the teeth. There's an in and out, there's a supply of oxygen that needs to get there, and that kind of thing. So for example, when we have a root canal, which in theory is a good idea, because it's like, hey, let's keep that original chewing surface. And of course it's your natural bone and all that. So it's a good idea in theory, but they scrape out the pulp chamber and cement it. And then it's like creates this, like, it's like supposed to be a hermetically sealed thing in your mouth, but it isn't hermetically sealed, and it can never be properly sterilized, because what's also crazy fascinating is that each tooth has 300 meters of microscopic tubules. So one back molar has 300 meters, which it blows my mind, because every time I say that, even in my head, I have to be like, like, really 300, but it is, because in my head, I'm like, really, sure it's not like 3 meters would be long enough, right? Like one microscope. So that's in one tube. That can never, ever be sterilized. And so what the root canal does is it creates this environment where all that bacteria is just leaking into the blood supply 24/7. And
then we have the saliva in our mouth, which everyone does know about. And if the mouth has pathogenic, different types of microbes, which it has a lot of, you're swallowing that. So that's getting down in the gut. So it's like a two-way street, like the two bad things are happening back and forth, and like a cycle like that. So if the gut isn't healthy, the lymph will not be. The tooth is not going to sweat out healthy ingredients.
And it might be sucking in from that mouth that, isn't that healthy once it gets worse.
So, no wonder people, as much as 80% of the country, the world probably, has tooth problems. No wonder they have plaque. And I don't know if people know this, but what is plaque? I mean, some people know about biofilm, some people don't know about biofilm. So could we just talk a little bit about the stuff that gets all around our teeth? What is plaque?
Well, it is. It's the beginning of the biofilms forming, and it's got a lot of bacteria and things that you don't want in it, and it can build up to become like tartar and calculus, and it's harder to move out. And then biofilms form, which basically just become like little communities of bacteria. And the biofilms are very hard to bust through, which is, even antibiotics, obviously that's a whole thing, but they are now discovering, they're not even able to bust through that. And of course, we've been overusing antibiotics. We've in a whole state of antibiotic resistance, but that actually has led to some great research when we combine that with the microbiome, because scientists and researchers are well aware of antibiotic resistance and have been looking for solutions for a number of years. What's also fascinating, for example, is, and again, we're going to have what we now know is that there is good bacteria, and we don't, like, I think out of the 40s too, we had that chemical time, and there was sort of this germ warfare, sort of scorched earth policy, whether it was agriculture or literal warfare, or like our mouths or our skin or acne, right? It was just like, let's just kill all the bacteria. But now we're like, wait, we need that. They keep things in check. And so what's really neat that's come out of this research is, for example, pretty much everybody has strep in their mouths, that bacteria. And it's a cavity causing bacteria, but not everybody's getting cavities. So researchers are starting to understand that strep is probably most likely causing an issue when it's in bodies that are missing, like when the strep's missing its ancestral bacterial buddies that help keep it in check. So we really need a diversity of bacteria. We actually need our mouths to be bustling with bacteria, good bacteria, and that's what's going to keep the dentist away. And what's really cool is that, okay, so we've got the good bacteria, and then pathogens are in the body, and generally they're kind of solo. I think of it kind of like phytoplankton floating around in the ocean, but of course it wants to like meet other pathogens and
lodge somewhere and have a home.
Yeah, have a home, and then get hey buddies and create a biofilm. What's really cool about, so modern research is now looking, so now we have answers as to why things like frankincense, neem, peppermint, cardamom, clove, all those beautiful plants have been used for oral care for thousands of years, because now we're able to see that they are something called QSI, essential oils, which I like to think of as botanical biotics because they're for the life, they're not antibiotic, is that they are QSI, they're quarantine sensing inhibitors, and they are able to clean up the pathogens, bust through biofilms while working right alongside the beneficial bacteria. So it cleans up
killing them.
Yeah, without killing them. So that's that kind of intelligence we can use to clean our mouths instead of triclosan, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic alcohols.
I know that erythritol is also good for busting through a biofilm in the mouth. But I wanted to talk about how when you do have infections in your mouth, how they don't just, you don't have this back and forth problem with the mouth and the gut. You also have a problem everywhere in the body. The bacteria are traveling in the bloodstream. They're affecting the heart, for example. So could you talk about that just a little bit so people understand this, why it's so very important to address these issues? If that, like, for example, I'll just throw this out too, that I was really curious, and I thought, I wonder if there's any connection between the oral microbiome and pathogens there, tooth infections and plaque and all, and COVID. Well, there's actually a lot of information on it, and it turns out, basically, in a nutshell, that the comorbidities like having heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, and all that is this is another comorbidity. If you have unhealthy gums and tooth infections and cavitations and things like that, that's another very high risk factor for having a more severe case, or like something I've been studying quite a lot are the long haulers. Like, why are these supposedly healthy people never quite the same after they've gotten a virus and then recovered from it? They're really not that healthy. That's my opinion. And I think that the inflammation hasn't calmed down. And I also think that a lot of things have been awakened in the body, like Epstein-Barr and other infections. But this is another thing, is that these so-called healthy people, did anybody ask them if they have gum disease? Because there's a connection there too. So could you talk a little bit about the systemic, the organs that are being affected by having you think it's a mouth problem? It's a whole body problem.
Yeah, it really is. And thanks for reminding me, because yes, like in the field of medicine, probably more functional medicine doctors, they really feel that 80% of all disease starts in the mouth. So it's actually the first place to look at. If you are
wait, I have to say something.
Yes.
I would have said 80% or 100% of disease starts in the gut. But actually what we just said is that they're one and the same. So
I was just about to say that. Yeah, that is really the same.
Yeah.
That is so fascinating. And again, I mean, that's just their feeling, but the reason to share that is also like, clearly there's, you know, a lot of doctors that are beginning to get that, like, the mouth isn't isolated, it's totally connected to the rest of the body. And you were reminding me of some other stats. For example, elderly people that haven't had or have like a lot of plaque, they're advised to really think about it, because you can have your teeth clean and you're releasing so much plaque into the lungs and the heart that there are statistics like that people die like a few days after having a teeth cleaning, because what's been released into the body.
I'm sure no one would ever tie that in. Healthy
Yeah,
thing, like getting your teeth cleaned, to the fact they died.
Yeah. And then there's lots of infertility infertility or premature birth is related to, like, for sure, premature birth to gum disease in a pregnant woman's mouth. And pregnancy is a real challenging time for the mouth, because it's going to bring up any kind of weaknesses in the system, because you're, you know, providing everything to the baby.
And the immune system's lowered anyway, so that the mother doesn't see the baby as a foreign object and attack it. So you don't even have a strong immune system really during pregnancy. I have a lot to say around that topic. I feel like we're so far off base in taking care of women when they're doing probably the most important thing in the world, is having another human being. But okay, so I just kept thinking of a million questions to ask you, but just getting back again to the gut connection in the mouth. All the other organs, like the stomach, you know, you've got your esophagus in the stomach, and then you've got your small intestine, large intestine. Have you been able to uncover anything? Like, I wonder sometimes about infections in the gut, like Crohn's and colitis and SIBO, which seems like half the world today seems to think they have SIBO. I think that there's another one of those missing connections between all kinds of that. And I've actually found research to show that the dentists that are real savvy, and they're actually testing the microbiome in the mouth, can even tell people ahead of time that they have Crohn's or colitis, because they can see the bacteria in the mouth that cause Crohn's and colitis, but they can also see other nutritional deficiencies and other signs of, things showing up that are also going to be happening in the gut. And the person doesn't even know they have Crohn's or colitis yet.
That's a good dentist that's able to.
I know, there's so few. That was actually going to be one of my questions. Do you think there are any, who would you recommend somebody to? Where do people go to find a good dentist?
That's a really good question. And there are some amazing dentists out there. I also have in my book, and also just an article on our website, questions to ask prospective dentists, and it will really get you to the right one. Because there are so many, like, do they perform root canals? If, like, the best dentist will not do that in their office. Like,
they don't do it anywhere.
They won't do it anywhere.
They don't go over there and do it. But they don't. Yeah. Why? Yeah. What? Because so many people, I've asked them, because I like to find out people's history from doing a consultation, and it's kind of an odd thing to ask people, but do they have a root canal? And I was like, everyone that said, oh yeah, they think it's a good thing. They have no idea of the consequences of doing a root canal. So can you just talk
my
about
dentist? And my favorite dentist, because I almost, like, when I was writing my book and stuff, and I definitely had a moment where I needed to go to the dentist, but just didn't want to, because I knew too much, and I'm like, I can't go until I can go see Dr. Nunnally in Texas. So I go to him, and he really sees people from all over the world, and he really is phenomenal. And I write about it in my book, he did a whole independent study on root canals, and he took textbook perfect root canals that were showing up perfectly in an X-ray, and they removed them and then sent them off to lab. I'm simplifying things, and what they found was the textbook perfect root canals, basically all root canals, have necrotic bacteria. And a lot of them were packing old, strange bacteria like leprosy, Lyme. Not that that's old, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
but I've also heard that. Oh wow, those are strange ones. I never heard of that, but I have heard that they become infected within the year, like 8 to 10 months they're already infected. Could a doctor do a root canal? Let's say they really believed in him, and maybe use something like ozone or something in the socket when it's done. Would that?
It seems at this stage there's no way to just really do it. And you're going to be, I guess, so many people are fine, or they're fine for 40 years or whatever, because it's really a hidden thing. And it's not even going to show up on the x-ray. I mean, ozone's good for like clearing the area, or once you've had that root canal removed, so, and that's also an issue, because then I'll bring up root canals, and then I know people will have them in their mouth, and then they're wondering what they should do. So, if you're feeling really healthy and all is well in your world, you're probably okay. You can have it tested. You can even do sort of PRP or ozone in that area to kind of keep it maintained. But also knowing that you can remove it. If it's a back molar, it's really not going to be a problem. You don't even need to fill it. Your teeth, your face won't cave in. You don't, obviously if you've got a whole bunch, you're going to need to do something, but if it's just one, it can easily be removed. The front, you're going to have to think a bit more. And, that's when you really going to want to work with the best dentist, because you're also going to want to make sure that it's maybe not even a root canal candidate for a teeth, right? Because there are many different ways to interpret an x-ray. And I talk about that in the beginning of my book too. There's this journalist that went, really got an analysis, and then went to 50 doctors, and it was like ranging from $500 to $36,000 what he needed to do for his mouth. And we think, because it's like science and people wear lab coats and there's x-rays involved, we think it's like this black and white thing, but it's like all, 50 shades of white, so to speak, in the dental world. And when the ADA was asked about that journalist's story and everything, they just said, well, dentistry is an art, which I thought was interesting. I'm like, okay, so now we're going to be subjective. Okay.
It seems like your vet and your dentist charge more money than anybody else does. But you mentioned your book a couple of times. I really should have done a better intro in the beginning.
No,
it's called Holistic Dental Care, The Complete Guide to Healthy Teeth and Gums. Is it still up to date?
Yeah,
it's a great book.
It's still up to date. I feel like I could probably write another one, but I actually, in Renegade Beauty, which was published in 2018, so a few years later. So I did another dental chapter, and it's very juicy. So that's really good.
Yeah, both books are outstanding. Amazing information. I mean, like I told you off camera, we can do hours, a whole entire masterclass on the whole mouth and on the skin. Actually, in honor of seeing you today for the first time, I just wash and wear it's just a wash and wear hairdo. I always dry it, and I thought, I'm not going to do that today because Nadine is all into natural. Leave everything alone, and I'm going to do that and see what happens. I'm probably going to regret it.
The waves and the curls, it looks so nice.
Well, it is wavy and curly, and it feels healthy. Boy, was it a time saver not to sit there and dry it. So thanks to you. Anyway, okay, so back to the topic at hand. Back to the cavitations. What if somebody has something right in the front of their mouth and they want to put something in? Usually they put a little post made of titanium, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, when you see one of those come out and then those go sent to the lab, like you can do that. If you have anything in your mouth like that and you're getting work done, it's kind of fun to send it to the lab and see what was going on in your mouth. But that's why you need a really good dentist, because you want them to be able to really guide you through really good choices, because like one visit to the dentist can literally affect your health like 50 years later. And so if it is in the front, there is an option to do a bridge, but that's like a tooth, and then it kind of clicks onto each other side, but you kind of have to shave away healthy teeth on each side. So it's not the best thing. Of course, there's a temporary that you could take in and out, but now, but instead of the titanium post, which titanium is one of the very toxic metal to have in our body, especially near our brain.
Don't they use it? I don't have any, I have all my body parts and even all my teeth. So I am not very skilled in this, but don't people use titanium and hip replacements or if you break your arm or something, it can't be repaired? It's just not, it's common.
It's totally common, and it's been used forever, but but it's not so good. And in the mouth, now though there is alternatives, and they've been using zirconium in Europe for like 30 years. So there's a very good track record. It's still a foreign object in the body, but it seems like it's the most biocompatible. So you definitely, and there are ceramic options, but there can be metals in those too. So you want to have your dentist really be your guide, and you want to be with like a person that's like with you, your partner in health, and you're informed rather than it being done to you, and then you get home.
I'm sure everybody listening right now is thinking, well, where am I going to find a dentist like this? And unfortunately, you can't do telemedicine. Like you can't call up your dentist in Texas and over Zoom call.
Well, we have one dentist that does do video appointments, which it can get you pretty far. Like it can, you can see what's going on. And often remedies don't have to involve a drill or like equipment. There's often like something you can see. And then if you start doing stuff at home, it can really help. So there's that. There's also, you can email us as well, and we will give you like, there's I can't remember them all, but there are some holistic and mercury-free dental associations, and then they have lists of, and there's that biological dentist association. That's going to be more where you're going to look for the dentist rather than holistic. Holistic doesn't quite cut it. Sometimes you want to be with like the leading edge, because we also need them to have like the best equipment, the least radiation with the x-rays, and you really want them to thought of everything all the way through, like that they're filtering the water and all that. And they exist. I feel like there's one in each state that's like really awesome. Not that I have, but you know what I mean? I feel like they're coming.
Good. Well, the thing is, it's, for dentists to go step out, and I mean, to do that, it's expensive. The training is expensive. I know that when I did all this extensive training through A4M, I spent $75,000 on all these courses and things. Yeah. So a lot of doctors can't, I don't know, fortunately, little bit at a time I kept spending. And then one day I totaled it up and I thought, wow, no wonder doctors, they can't take off time from their practice. You're asking a lot of a dentist to do that. But the one thing is, if they have so many patients afterwards, it's well worth it. And again, if the dental schools could get caught up on all this knowledge, I think maybe now that I'm thinking about it, I would call some of these companies that actually do the testing of the oral microbiome and then work backwards that way. Because the doctor's savvy enough to order one of those tests, that's a good doctor.
That's definitely a good doctor. That's a really cool thought. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to explore that. So now everybody at this point is probably, well, first of all, tell us your website so they can go there.
Yeah. We're at livinglibations.com, and we also have like a lot of articles on the site. You'll find some ones on oral care and stuff in there that can get you started.
Okay, we can always repeat that later on, but I just thought already people are wondering, where can I go look some of this up? So okay, so now let's get into solutions. Like, we've defined the problem, it's pretty bad. I did want to, before we're finished, talking about children, how let's do that right now, actually. In the newborn's gut, of course, it's really super important to have a healthy microbiome. And they don't have any teeth, which I'm guessing that's because the teeth would get in the way of the baby nursing. But the teeth start coming in around 5-6 months. She's still nursing. Baby's probably still nursing. But so I don't know. My daughter started biting me until I no. But they do hurt when they come in.
Yeah, I breastfed into toddlerhood and everything too.
Yeah,
so,
me too. Yeah, definitely. But anyway, okay. So here's your parent. I have two little grandchildren. One of them is just brand new. She's like a month old. And the other one is 2.5. So they're not taking care of their teeth yet, especially a little baby. So what is, how do you start off the oral? Is there a way I can help any parent start their baby off with a healthy gut microbiome and have an enormous influence on their development, brain development, mood, personality, everything, immune system, everything. But what would you say for starting your child off with the right kind of microbiome early in life?
Well, for sure, I would say start your pregnancy with your protocols and really, think about your gut and oral microbiome before, like, even if you're able and you're hoping to get pregnant, like, start now. And then for the baby fresh, I would still follow your protocol, because I think setting up the microbiome is a really great way to have success later in life. And what we also know is from cesarean birth, for example, is because they were kind of colonized by the air or the doctor's microbes, is that there is, more prone to allergies, skin conditions, and oral care issues. But luckily, and I'm sure you talked about that a lot, but there's that way that you can sort of swab from the maternal microbiome and even put it in the baby's mouth and stuff to get that start. If the baby has been born by cesarean, and then you can really work with the, getting the microbiome happy. And then and then of course in the mother, obviously I'm sure you talk about that a lot, but I would just say, other than all the great things about having a healthy diet, make sure you've got D3 and K2 in your diet through your food or through a supplement, or some sunshine.
So the teeth develop, because when the baby teeth fall out and the adult teeth come in, are you nourishing those adult teeth? Even though they're up in the gum and everything, to feed and nourish them. The
adult teeth are really getting their nourishment in pregnancy and in those first 3 years. So that's really, really key. And the D3 and K2 are so vital because they are like ushers that send the minerals into the bones rather than keeping it floating around in the blood serum, because that's where we need that calcium in the bone, making us strong, making our teeth, making our baby's teeth. And then when they start budding, coming out, the simplest thing to do is to just use a cloth, and you can put it around your finger, just sort of around your hand, and it's a little bit damp, and you touch baking soda on it, and then you just do that to the teeth, just rub them with the baking soda. Period.
Because if they swallow it, that's fine.
It's totally fine. Yeah.
So what I do for people that don't know that, that are just finding us out there online or something, I am a very big believer in really focusing on the baby's gut from the minute they're born.
Yeah.
A lot of times people have been already, pregnant women are already on the diet during the pregnancy, because it's a fantastic diet with all the fermented foods, and it's really good for their immune system, but giving it balance, but also creating that diversity that they want to pass on to their baby. So they will have around some fermented vegetables, and I've told them for years to take a little bit of that juice and dilute it and put it in a bottle, and then a dropper bottle, and then just take a little bit of that dropper, a little bit of that juice, and just squirt it in the baby's mouth, even from the very beginning. Day 2. And so I've had, many years ago, I had a parent, mom and dad, that called me. They had literally not slept for 6 weeks because their baby screamed all the time for 6 weeks. And then I had them do this, and then they, a day or two later, they let me know that they were now sleeping. The baby wasn't crying, and they were sleeping. And that really made me adamant about the importance of establishing bacteria right from the beginning, because so many babies are fussy or they're screaming, and the parents are not tying it into the fact that their gut microbiome is having a hard time getting started. But again, so one of the things I just wanted to put, that we sort of forgot to say, is that diversity is what's special about the gut. It has a huge diversity, and the mouth also has the huge diversity. And even though the skin, which is a huge amount of, there's a lot of skin, a lot of footage there for bacteria to cover, the diversity is more, there's more diversity in the mouth and in the gut than anywhere. Yes. So that's what I love about fermented vegetables or our probiotic liquids, because they, you could use those too, but if you go out in the field and let's say you just grab 3 cabbages out of your garden and some carrots or something, and you bring them in and shred them up, pack them in a jar and ferment them. Every one of those cabbages, every piece of carrot, every carrot had its own unique microbiome, nature's microbiome that nature created. And it's way more diverse, way more extraordinary than a capsule probiotic. But that's what you're getting when you ferment them. You're getting what I call the wisdom of nature and all that amazing diversity. And you can really only get that on a few fermented foods, but especially fermented vegetables. So what you might think was, well, why would I put fermented cabbage juice into my baby? Because that's lactic acid bacteria, but it's really not. And it's really an incredible diversity. But babies need bifidus. So that to me is a bacteria that you add into your breast milk if you're pumping or anything, any bottle anywhere you've got a
and then
bottle.
Even, mama taking it, because then it was
yes, perfect. Yes, and then also you can even just put a little bit in their mouth and let them swallow it too under their tongue or something. So that's really critical to do that. So I'll just throw in my little piece of wisdom. But let's get back to you, because you have really important information about what to do when your mouth rather is in trouble.
Yeah, and I feel like most people, there's probably something right now in their mouth that they want to evolve. And I feel like as a society, we feel like, oh, things can't change in our mouths. Just from the way I was raised, and when I went to the dentist, it just kind of feels hopeless.
Well, they're probably trying to do things, but it's not working because they're not doing the right thing. I mean, maybe they're doing mouthwash, and the next thing they know, 2 hours later, their gums, they just feel kind of like inflicted or inflamed again.
Totally. It's funny because we have people, our people that use libations and then go to the dentist. We kind of have dentists that are like, oh my God, what are you doing? And then they're like, let me take really extensive notes. And then there's the other dentists that are like, that's really great. Amazing. Just keep doing what you're doing. I don't want to hear about it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny, there's different ways.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I think of like a simple way, and you can kind of apply this even to your skin or whatever, but stop, seal, and seed. So first, let's just stop doing the things that are messing with the microbiome and throwing off the homeostasis of our oral oasis. And that's things like, a filter for your water would be good, to not have the chlorine coming out of the tap. Mm-hmm. So, so you can even, what I used to do when I lived in the city and just had an apartment and didn't have a whole home thing, is we just had the shower filter. And then that's where, I rinse and brush my teeth with that, or we would wash the kale under the shower or run the bath from the shower filter. So there's ways to go around that. And you want to stop using toothpaste with like triclosan, which has been banned from hand soap, sodium lauryl sulfate, which bleed and recede the gums, or saccharin, and just a whole bunch of other chemicals we want to get. Fluoride.
It's really hard. More than half the toothpaste still have fluoride in them. And I thought everybody knew you had to stop using fluoride, but I guess not, because even the health food store, half of them have fluoride in them.
Yeah, and the other thing with the health food stores, lots of the brands will have sodium lauryl sulfate and also glycerin, which we think might be kind of sounding innocuous. It's sort of like a water-based vegetable glycerin, but it's not good for our cells. So it kind of like, if we use it like, whether it's a lubricant like KY jelly or on our face, what science has studied is that the cells are temporarily plumped by the lubrication, but then through osmolarity, the cells release their water and totally shrivel up. And when they looked at vaginal cells under the microscope after the use of that lubricant, they looked like shriveled raisins. And on the teeth, when we use toothpaste with glycerin, they kind of coat the tooth, like it's a very, microscopic invisible layer, and it doesn't rinse off. Mm-hmm. And then that inhibits that microscopic dentinal lymphatic fluid from coalescing with the saliva, just in that seemingly innocuous ingredient of glycerin.
Okay, so that first step is
just stopping, the things that are getting in the way.
Seal. Like that makes me wonder about a leaky gut. Like exactly. I also think like this is this
leaky gums is what I call it, from leaky guts. And then kind of a cavity is kind of a leaky tooth.
Yeah.
Right. So we got to seal and heal the guts for sure. Like not eating glyphosates would be another thing to stop, and stopping eating things that would create intestinal permeability, like corn and wheat and all that. I'm sure you've talked about it for a long, in depth on.
Yeah. And you know podcasts. What? I always think that everybody knows everything I teach, and why should I even keep doing it? Because, it's like old hat, and everybody's singing the same song. So then I go somewhere out into the real world and nobody knows it. I think, wow, where are they? Like, how are they not picking all this information up? Don't they care? Or, it's just like this. I mean, I hope many people at least care about their teeth and do a few of these things that we are saying. So stop doing all the bad things. And what about using a toothbrush that's really abrasive?
Yeah.
Stop that, or
yeah. So we want to stop. So
things.
you want to use a soft-headed toothbrush, even if you're like, a 200-pound fireman. Soft-headed, baby soft, every human soft-headed toothbrushes. And if your toothbrush, like 6 months from you bought it, the bristles are all like splayed and all that, is you're brushing way too hard. 6 months down the road, your toothbrush should generally look the same. Obviously used, but the bristles should all be the same. So we've been brushing way too hard, and then we've been brushing with very harsh chemicals. And also, of course, I have my whole dental line, but seriously, you can just brush your teeth with baking soda. I've made these 8 steps, and that's part of the sealing phase. And you can do those 8 steps for oral care. You just do them twice a day. And it really, especially if you can do it for like 3 months before you go to a dentist, you'll really evolve the current state of your mouth. And, but you can do all the steps with just things like baking soda, diluted hydrogen peroxide, and sea salt. And you can just use those like kind of ingredients for the rest of your life, and you will be a million times better off than using any kind of like drugstore product. And I just love people to know that, because you don't have to buy my line to take care of your teeth.
So let's talk about hydrogen peroxide. It is a killer.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's a killer, but it does seem to have a bit of intelligence in the mouth where it's not totally disrupting all of the good bacteria. But it is something you're going to just use maybe once or twice a month. And of course, it's totally going to be diluted to 3%. Or you can even use a little bit less. And there's some fun things you can do with that. One fun thing is, once it's been diluted, you can just take like a jar of baking soda and pour a little on top. I don't have any measurements for this. And you just let the cap off and you let it dry out. And you have kind of like a baking soda infused, hydrogen peroxide infused baking soda. And you can use that just like a couple times a month to do extra whitening. But the reason why you only want to use hydrogen peroxide about twice a month is because it is pretty astringent. And so it can kind of make the gums just get a bit, kind of pull back a bit. And so you don't want to do that. And every time you use hydrogen peroxide, follow up with some baking soda, because it's very alkalizing and gentle. But the baking soda is good to have. And we also have these blunt tip syringes. So it's like a little micro kind of like water jet thing, but it's very controlled, and it's a blunt tip syringe. So you can make up little serums for in there. So dentists are now realizing the wisdom of probiotics in oral care. And so after some dentists, after the scaling of the teeth and the cleaning, they will implant probiotics along the gum line, but you can totally do that at home with the blunt tip syringe. So you could make up a little serum with like one of our dental serums, some water, and throw in some like a little bit of probiotic. And then you can just flush out those gum lines, because they kind of stuff gets up in them, that's one of the reasons they recede. Plus like TMJ can make them recede, plus like our sodium lauryl sulfate toothpaste and brushing too hard. So many things can make that gum line recede. And so when you start flushing it out, and the debris and the plaque that may have been lodged underneath, and the gum gets free to come back around. And it's very, very important to take care of the gum line, because where they meet the tooth and the gum, the sulca, you really want to be caring for that, making sure plaque doesn't get built up, because you want your gums to be like turtlenecks around your teeth. And when they kind of, slack and the gum pockets get deep, then you're getting to sort of like a cowl neck situation, and you don't want that. So,
which one of your products would you put in the syringe? And are you saying fill the whole entire syringe and then just go, got a lot of teeth there, like all the way around?
So you could do like make a little shot glass, put in some, or like a little thing you can shake, and you could, so many things can go there, like a salted water, a baking soda water. All you would need is to add a couple drops of one of our dental serums, which are called like Happy Gum Drops. We have Yogi Tooth Serum. Even our swishing serums. So we have these oil pulling serums with like CoQ10 and that kind of stuff. You could even use a squirt of that, or you can just use like a sea salt water, touch of that 3% hydrogen peroxide. Now we're even testing putting spermidine in there, because the study just came out how good that is for the gums.
Oh, really? I
So
haven't heard that.
yeah, I'll send you that study. So there's all kinds of things that you can just treat, kind of a spa with your gum. And then a really cool toothpaste. So we have toothpaste, we have dental serums, we have swishing serums, and the dental serums you can like run along your floss, and we have tongue scrapers and all that. But I'm so excited about a toothpaste that we just launched a couple months ago. It was a few years in the making. And there's an ingredient or there's a mineral, and the teeth are made out of that. It's called nanohydroxyapatite, and it like forms the tooth. And 40 years ago, it was approved for toothpaste for astronauts in outer space because the studies show it prevented bone loss.
Oh yeah, they have a big problem with that when they go up.
Yeah, very big problem.
Wow.
So our toothpaste, and there's only been like 4 or 5 toothpaste in the whole planet that had ever had this ingredient. And of course, it's all in a sea of like things that we don't want to put in our mouth. So we made our beautiful version, and it's called Triple Mint. And it even, if you research the nanohydroxyapatite, I mean, dentists love it. Many dentists feel it works better at whitening and filling out the teeth better than fluoride, even though, of course, there's issues with that. But how cool that like dentists are seeing how amazing it is. And we also have, you can also leave, so you can brush your teeth and all that sort of stuff and spit and do the things, but you can also just take a little and then put it on your teeth afterwards and let it sit on there. And then we also have,
you can swallow it.
Yeah, you can totally swallow it. So it's also good for, caring for children or Alzheimer's people that don't know about, they've kind of lost the ability to know about swallowing and not swallowing. And we also have a silicone tooth tray that you can get, and you can put the paste in there and then just click it in, and then just, walk around for a couple hours and just let it be absorbed into your teeth, and kind of like a tooth spa.
So you put it in a tray and you put the tray in your mouth.
Yeah, it's
as easy as it is.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to back up for a second because you said spermidine.
Yes.
So I just want to be clear, because I'd say that 99% of the people listening to this right now to us talk don't know what spermidine is. And we're not talking about sperm. We're talking about something very different. And trying to think I actually, Primadine is a company.
Yeah, Primadine is, I think there's only 2 in the whole world, because it's just sort of been able to be extracted and be available as a food supplement. And I do love the Primadine company because I know them, and it's a whole, so there's other micronutrients that are key to go along with it. Plus they've removed the fats, which go rancid. So it's a very high quality, and we've been playing a lot with it. We're actually going to make a toothpaste with it. And it's just such an amazing supplement that's come out. I actually did an interview on it because I just found like the beauty benefits are so phenomenal that
to take it orally. Topically.
I mean, topically we're having fun and really seeing like that you can add it to a honey mask or a cream, and it's really like an amazing, you're like, wow.
Well, tell people what it is.
And so sorry. And spermidine is found in like, it's a polyamine, and it's found in like every living thing on the planet. And it is in sperm, and it is in breast milk in copious amounts. So it's very essential. And it is this essential thing that's in all life forms, but we've never really been able to extract it. It is in food, but like not concentrated enough. Like it's in cheeses and broccoli and mushrooms. And then I guess people have been really looking for it. So maybe before you'd have to take like 40 capsules of like an algae to kind of get the equivalent of the kind of that daily amount. And so the Primadine company found a way to extract it from pure non-GMO wheat germ. And it still seems to be okay for people that have gluten sensitivity. And there is a doctor even working with people with celiac, but that's of course another situation. But what it does is, so the side effects are like you're just skin, like I have pretty soft skin, having had my own skincare company since I was 20, but I was just floored at like, I didn't know it could get softer, and everyone around, like melasma's fading, freckles fading, hair is thickening, hair is shining, like, so there's all like nails hard. My eyelashes are longer than they've ever been. Like I just,
well,
like,
how many do you take a day to get that? Because I was taking three twice a day. 3.
I take 3 before bed, sometimes 4, and I've been on it since 9 months.
Oh, cool. That's great to know. I love that because I know, first of all, no one knows about it. Secondly, when you
Yeah.
do know about it, no one says anything about it. So, I mean, there's no
Yeah.
information about that out on it. So
Well,
that's
I don't
fantastic.
wear mascara a lot because I'm not going, not going out too much these
Me
days.
either. Me
But I
either.
just put it on today for our podcast, and I was just
Me too.
floored at like I feel like my lashes are like twice as like the long, for sure they're the longest they've ever been in their life, which you
Wow.
don't normally get at this
Yeah, I
stage.
started looking for it 2 or 3 years ago when I realized what an critical anti-aging
Yeah.
product was. Another source for it is Natto,
Yes.
the Natto
Yes.
bacteria. But
And I think
Natto is,
that company's gonna make one out of natto and then a totally wheat-free one out of algae.
oh,
So it's
well, the
good.
problem with Natto,
Yeah.
it's fermented soy, but soy is incredibly high in oxalates. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
natto is a very short fermentation of
Yeah.
only about maybe 24 hours. It's not
Oh,
long enough to get rid of the oxalates. And I
yeah.
know that so many people, of course, that I work with have yeast problems. And if you have yeast, they're making a ton of oxalates in your body. So today we react to foods high in oxalates. And so even though they're healthy, like
Makes
lots of the nuts
sense.
and seeds, not all of them, like chia is high, flax isn't, spinach that everybody loves, almonds and cashews. There's so many things that we're eating that are healthy.
Yes.
People don't realize what they're doing, how
They could have
damaging that
lectins
is.
in them, that kind of thing. The
Yeah,
lectins,
anyway, people don't
oxalates.
soak their nuts for 20, 8 or longer, 8 hours or
Yeah.
longer to get rid of those, the phytic acid on them too. So we're just
Phytic
making a lot
acid.
of mistakes. Yeah.
Phytic acid
Anyway, we'll
is
totally
a
have to.
no.
Oh,
Well,
that's
it's
bad
phytic
for your
acid.
mouth too, by the
Yeah.
way. Are you going to say
It's
that?
yeah. It's like literally an anti-nutrient for the teeth. It decimates
Oh, good.
phosphorus, and so that is one of the issues if it's like a pure kind of vegan or vegetarian diet, and it's like lentils for lunch, oats, and then
Mm-hmm.
like rice for dinner. You are and then no soaking or any of that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
right, exactly.
You're
I
totally
actually, so I'm a blood type A, and I have found the majority of people that seem to call me, including all the kids with autism and their parents, are A's. So I know a lot about
Oh,
that blood type. And I find that A's really do need some complex carbohydrates, especially in the last meal of the day to sleep well, because they're just going
oh
on an all
yeah.
protein diet.
No, I feel
They
like
stop sleeping.
we do need our carbs, but we got to
Yeah.
make good choices, I think.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and prepare them properly, just like
Yeah.
we were talking
Yeah.
about. So I would never eat them unless I can soak them. But also, I go like an extra step, and so we have something called Energy Biotic, Cocoa Biotic. They're probiotic liquids that are amazing diversity, and I'll put a few tablespoons of that in the soaking water. I just barely cover the
Yes.
whatever it is, like rice or whatever you're going to have. And I'll just barely cover it with water and then put a few tablespoons of that in. And then I let it go a pretty long time, at least 24 hours, maybe even a couple of days. It's never going to spoil because
Yeah.
now you've got the good bacteria in there. But oh man, is it easy to digest when you do that?
Yeah, and
too.
then you
So
remove the phytic acid, and then
which
that
is hurting
then
your teeth. So we're
yeah.
back in your oral microbiome. So we actually are in a roundabout way staying on topic here.
Oh yeah, because diet is so key, and I feel like spermidine is really good for teeth, so it's all related.
Mm-hmm,
I was
mm-hmm.
just gonna say with that, the skin and the hair and all that great, those are the side effects. What it's actually doing is autophagy, so it's cellular cleanup, which we can
Oh,
all
that's right. Yeah.
use, amazing for the immune system. Mitophagy, so it's doing mitochondrial cleanup, and lipophagy, so it's then taking that white fat, turning it to brown fat, the good healthy fat. And so all of that's going on. And right now, that supplement takes care of 6 of the 9 biomarkers of aging. But studies will come out in the next year or so that really it's taking care of all 9.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I was so interested in it. And I do know that natto, which is enjoyed by the Japanese, they start giving their
Yeah.
babies when they're little tiny, like sitting up in their walker or whatever, a bean. They put just one in their mouth because it
Oh,
builds their immune system. So they have their people in Japan either love natto or they hate natto, but it's a real popular food. And they obviously don't have problems with oxalates or something, I guess, because
well,
it's a majorly important food. And
from what I
I
understand,
wa-
traditionally
it
it
does
should be
make
a
your skin
year.
beautiful.
It should be a year for the making real natto, from what I understand.
Well, anybody I've ever, that makes it and sells it that I've
It's
asked.
24 hours.
You can make it yourself though. But I was interested too because besides building your immune system, which is why they give it to the baby, your skin, like you said, just has a beautiful glow to it from eating the
Maybe it's that
natto.
spermidine.
And it's obviously the spermidine
Yeah.
and the good bacteria. It's got good bacteria in it too.
That's right.
Well, so I still have a million questions we haven't gotten to. So oils, essential oils in your mouth, because you have top quality, amazing oils. And I know that when we were together at David's conference, you were across from, I had a booth, you had a booth. And that's when I went over and, you have a lot of them. And I'd never seen essential oils like that before. They were just like in another level of something. I don't know. You can just, they were just not anything like the stuff you buy in the health food store. So could we talk about them for the mouth? For the oral microbiome, like obviously they're not going to hurt the good bacteria because oils don't. But how would you use them to create a healthy, you heal your gums, maybe even clean your teeth? I mean, let's talk to us, if you would talk to us about how to use the oils.
For sure. Yeah. Well, of course, always got to use a real, genuine essential oil. And otherwise, it could burn your skin or something. There's a lot of games and adulteration that goes on, that has gone on since essential oils were kind of the modern era of them. So just know that. And there's also like, a whole part of essential oils that seem like aromatherapy that's like a bit like a potpourri or like a Hallmark kind of realm. And that is not the realm that we're talking about. We're talking about pure, genuine distillations and plant extracts. And any essential oil that we sell, we have like third-party testing, and it's got all the components and where the soil it was grown in and the Latin name. So just to get that straight. But
Nadine, there's lots of essential oils out there. Were you very selective in choosing the ones that you sell? Because you don't sell everyone into the.
No, I mean, well, yeah, I've been actually working with my distiller since I was 22 years old. I mean, I was forming my relationships back then. I hand plucked them from the universe before there was even an internet. And most, obviously I've gained a few more in the years since, and there's new plants all the time, but like that's the kind of quality but then when you have that quality, when you have the real thing, then it will do what it's supposed to do. And so, they are these botanical biotics. And actually how I got into even making dental stuff is I was in my 20s and I had my whole store and my product line. I didn't have any oral care yet, but I'm a young entrepreneur. I'm off the family plan. I'm not too excited about going to the dentist. And I also feel like I've figured out a lot of things for my body and how to care for my body. But the teeth, there was not a lot written. There's not a lot going on, but I knew to find a holistic dentist. So I found that it didn't seem that holistic, but the hygienist was amazing. And she was like, there's a cavity forming on your tooth. She's like, go home, work with all your things that you work with, the oils and the herbs, and then come back in 6 months and we'll see if it's still there. So I was blown away. I didn't even know that it could evolve.
So you literally had a cavity already.
Forming. So it was early stages, but that it becomes brown. And she showed me. I didn't realize it was there. And then I was just blown away though, because the fact that it was like, go home and see if you can fix it. I was like, what? I thought these were just formed stones in my body and they weren't connected. So I did. And that's how I created the Happy Gum Drops, because I did. And then, I took care of everything and I went back and it wasn't there. So that was
what's a Happy Gum Drop? Tell everybody about that.
That was my first product.
Like a great thing to give a baby, a child.
Well, it's good. We have a wild child Happy Gum Drop. So we have a gentler version for babies and stuff. And it is good to use for teething and stuff. Because I don't know what the design is, but definitely whenever the teething comes, the immune system kind of crashes. So that's why you're like, is it's usually inflamed because there's inflammation from the gums being ruptured.
And they get a runny nose and they're real grumpy.
Yes. Oh my God.
They do look like they have something like a cold.
So at first you think, a cold's coming. And then you're like, we're teething now because I woke up 10 times. Yeah. So that helps and it soothes it. And it's also really good to boost the immune system if you see that it's coming on. So the essential oils, I mean, they're all so different and they all do different things. But within the Happy Gums, we've got Rose Auto, which is a vulnerary. So it speeds up healing of the gum tissue. We've got Sea Buckthorn, which helps to heal and seal the gums. and it's something we love to use on our face. And then we've got like things like tea tree, which the Australian Dental Association showed that as little as under 1%, can get help with cavities and mouth bacteria and halitosis and a whole bunch of stuff like that. Thyme and tea tree and peppermint and clove and cinnamon, which are all just botanical biotic powerhouses that are helping to heal the tissue, bust through the biofilms and the bacteria, keep the happy bacteria happy, and speed up gum healing and help to bust away plaque. So they're really phenomenal.
That's amazing.
They really help people gums.
All your years, I just want people to know this about Nadine. Like she's, I feel like me and probably lots of you listening that, you grow up in the world and you just start questioning things. Whatever they say, you think, well, are they right? Maybe they're wrong. I'm going to go look for other answers. And so Nadine early in life started really thinking outside of the box and coming up with some amazing, well, she first trained herself and now she's sharing all this great information with us. She had a health food store already at the age of 22. You already had a health food store?
Well, it was like a aromatherapy store, but 6 months after university, I opened up, it was called Osmosis, and it was North America's first full aromatherapy store. We had a blending bar. I would make perfumes for people. That's how I met some fun people like Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, so many celebrities follow you now. That's how. Well, were people ready for it? Because I have to say that, 30 years ago when I started teaching about stevia and microbiome and everything, there was always some people that were ready, but the rest of the world was not even looking in that direction. So that was very forward thinking.
Yeah, it's crazy that's 30 years. You know what? I feel like it was enough people were, at the time. I mean, there is enough it was very, I still have clients today from 30. I've had clients for 30 years. It's crazy.
I hope today, obviously, people that didn't know who you were now know who you were. And okay, so here's another thing too. Obviously, quality costs more money than going to the health food store and getting clove from there, let's say, or tea tree oil or something. But that's probably better than nothing. But let's say that you want to get started, and so when it comes to your website, they just say, I can't do everything that I could do that Nadine has, but what do you think are the most important things to get started with to make the biggest difference? I would say, absolutely, to whatever you're going to say, to add on eating fermented foods, because then they have such an incredible diversity. You're eating a little bit at least two main meals. You have a couple of tablespoons. Now you're putting a lot of good bacteria into your gut, and they are going to crowd out the bad bacteria. So that's a good first step, is to get rid of the pathogens that way by bringing in more of the good guys. Now, let's say people say, okay, I'll do that, Donna. That sounds pretty easy. I'll make some, or I'll go to the store and buy some. Because today there's a lot of companies making fermented vegetables. Once upon a time, nobody made them.
It was hard to find.
Yeah, and then I was teaching people how to make them and how important a starter is, because it is best to use a starter. But okay, so let's say they say yes to the gut. And now, what would you say to do that's absolutely essential to get started?
Well, I would say for sure oral care, and I would say get a dental serum and a toothpaste, because with the dental serums, which are the liquid, it's a liquid love for your mouth, you can slide that along floss. You can even just use a drop of dental serum and then, dip put a pinch of baking soda on there. So on one level, if you could only get one thing, get the dental serum. But that triple mint paste with the nanohydroxyapatite is amazing. So I would do that. Those two things will totally change your whole oral care. And then you can go deep into the 8 steps and stuff.
So the right toothpaste is called?
Well, I would get the triple mint, I love all of our toothpaste, but that's the rock star of the crowd right now. And then the happy gumdrops is really good for everybody's mouth, and really you're getting used to because there's never really been a dental serum. That wasn't a product that existed until I thought, hey, let's make one. So it's
I've seen other people
concept.
Have them, but you were the first.
Now they have them.
Yeah, and of course I don't trust the quality like I
Well,
trust
yeah, I mean,
yours,
I've
but
seen
you,
some, they're in almond oil and it's like
yeah,
spearmint, but we're like, I'm so into like purity and potency, you know, where it's like
obviously.
one
It's
drop.
pretty obvious,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I would say another area that I think makes a big difference is like switching out deodorant. And we have gorgeous, gorgeous deodorants. We have two kinds. We have a cream kind, and that's called Underarm Charm. And there's so many gorgeous scents. And then we have our Poetic Pits, which are just like phenomenal, and people will sweat in like hot yoga and whatever, and then people will come to them after class and be like, how do you smell so good right now, even though you've been sweating? And it totally works with your own pheromones. It's adding like all those juicy essential oils to that area, antibacterial, antifungal, and it's not masking you, and it's just harmonizing with your own smell, so you just become a very sensual version of yourself. So there's that. And then I think another huge thing is if we all just stop washing with soap on our entire bodies and face, just save the soap for the pits and bits, because the skin microbiome doesn't need that. And then what we want to do, what cultures across the globe did for thousands of years before soap, is they washed and cleansed with oil. And it's so phenomenal. And yes, even if you have cystic acne or rosacea or eczema, oil is the answer. But of course, not any oil, not baby oil, not whatever fake oil, petroleum oil, not rancid almond oil or peach kernel or grapeseed, but real, like my favorite is organic jojoba, which is a desert plant. It's actually a liquid wax. And it's, so it actually, it never, if it's stored properly, it will never go rancid. And it's the oil that's the most simpatico with our skin and sebum of any oil on the planet as a fatty oil. So it's gorgeous. You can, so we make our best skin evers, which are what you can use to cleanse and wash your face and moisturize. It will take makeup off. It'll help
Well,
you shave.
usually when people think of washing their face, they
Yeah.
put a little foamy stuff on
Yeah.
and rub their face.
Yeah.
How do you cleanse with oil? You're not going to put the oil on.
You can massage whatever, but what I like to do is use a face cloth. We sell these beautiful organic hemp ones, but it's like a face cloth, and that's basically the amount of texture for exfoliation. You don't want to be exfoliating beyond the texture of a classic face cloth. So just know that, because we've been over exfoliating, which definitely leaves the young cells underneath and the skin's microbiome in a vulnerable position. And if you're over exfoliating your skin that harshly, it's kind of like leaving your front door open when you go on vacation, where you've left sort of the vulnerability to that system of the skin on the face. So you just take a damp cloth, put a spot of water on it, squirt of oil, and then you just like, going over the face like that. If you have a lot of makeup or a mascara, you could use a cotton pad first, put a little, just a touch of water and not soaking wet, and then the oil, remove that, and then do a face cloth round. Do one rinse, and then you can just squirt on, of course we have serums and creams, but you can also just stick to the best skin ever, which is basically what I'm using each day, because I keep things really simple. I can get fancy, I can have moments of eye cream and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, what's in our best skin bottle is like beyond even the most expensive face cream. So it may be a little, on some level, it may be more than what you're used to, but on one level, it's really, I don't think you can get better skincare for more or less money. It's really juicy, and it really will just harmonize. So many things are gonna not be a problem anymore, because so much of our modern skincare, just like our ingredients in our oral care, is just creating a catch-22 with the skin. We're stripping it with chemicals and then trying to replenish the moisture, where everything, the chemicals that we're using and the surfactants that we're using are literally dissolving our own ceramide production. And then we're like trying to buy something to put it back in, which has also got chemicals in it and blah, blah, blah.
You were reminding me of something. First of all, I was, as a teenager, had extremely oily skin. And the dermatologist said, well, you just have genetics. You're always going to have ugly, thick, bumpy skin. So I took antibiotics, which really was a bad thing to do, but it worked. But serious consequences for me, but at least it put me on the path that I'm on. Says everything good comes out of bad things.
It definitely led us.
But it's interesting. So because I had problems with my skin, I was so self-conscious, like a lot of girls are, especially teenagers. And when I was living in LA for a while, and I went to Co-Opportunity, there was a woman that worked in the supplement department, and she had pain. It was just painful to look at her, really. She had such horribly pockmarked skin from having had acne and not doing anything about it. And it just was rough and really bad. And so I, watched her over the years' time. Her skin changed. It was extraordinary. And all she was doing was putting rosemary essential oil on her skin, which was really intriguing to me because I did everything to dry my skin out my whole entire life. And considering myself, when it says what kind of skin do you have, I'd always check off oily skin. But here she was using oil for her skin to get rid of all the. So like a year later, her skin was so smooth. I was shocked. I'll never forget that. But I was going to say myself, people, to my surprise, having the doctor said I'd always be, cursed basically with the skin. People say to me all the time, "Gosh, you have such nice skin." I'm thinking, wow. I do. It's hard to believe. But again, it gets back to having the fermented foods and having them in your gut and having a healthy gut, because again, your gut is influencing the health and the cleanliness of your skin as well. Absolutely. Too. So I think that this is a great, I hope a lot of people listen to it, because I think there's a lot of great information here that we're sharing from two different points of view. From my perspective, I'm focusing on the gut and the probiotic foods, and on you're focusing on the skin and the gut, oral microbiome, which is really connected, obviously. So I think there's just amazing amount of information that the two of us have between us. So I'm very glad that you took the time to get together, and we can get this out into the world and hopefully change a lot of people's understanding about their oral microbiome, their skin. And please, everybody, Nadine has two great books. I'm talking about really great books. The one for skin is I lost all my notes here. You have no idea how many. I just kept thinking of questions to ask you for the last 2 days, and I can't find any of them right now. But
you know what I always say with the skin and the microbiome? I say, let the bacteria be your beautician.
That sounds good. That sounds really good.
So we're going to allow the microbiome in the guts to thrive with all of your wisdom, and allow, topics. So from insides and topically, we allow the bacteria to thrive,
You're reminding me of something else. My mother got cancer, and of course she had to go the traditional route. She wouldn't listen to me, but she ended up with a really bad staph infection for one of her hospital stays. And I remember taking, of course it was the weekend and she couldn't reach anybody. So I took the probiotic liquid that we had, Cocoa Biotic, and I just packed it all over her skin. It was amazing how it brought that infection down. Talking about bacteria on your skin too. And actually, of course, after the weekend was over, she went to her doctor who put her on an antibiotic. But it was an interesting lesson for me that you can even use certain probiotics and the diversity on your skin as well too. But Nadine, would you tell everybody again the name of the two books and the name of the website, and hopefully people will just go there and start off with just something that you recommended and start on the right path.
Sure. So my books are Renegade Beauty and Holistic Dental Care. There's also a really good dental chapter in Renegade Beauty, so you can just start with that if you feel like it. Everywhere books are sold, plus they're both Audible books. And then we've got livinglibations.com, and you can have fun over there. And if you have any questions or where to start or what to do, just email us. And we also do free consults. They're very popular, so they're booked up in advance, but we have like whole families and multi-generations or like bridal parties coming and doing consults. It's really fun. And the website's Living Libations, and then you can find us over like most social media, but we like Instagram, Nadine Artemis Official, and Living Libations Official.
Thank you very much, Nadine. It's really an honor to know you. Thank you.
It's so special to be able to spend time with you today.